Alright, so hello everyone. I figured I might show you guys how you can start writing your own C# applications and programs. In this course we'll be mainly doing console applications, and later on we will move to Windows Forms or even WPF apps, or UWP apps, but that's for another day. For now, we're going to focus on just console applications because those apps are ideal for teaching the basics of algorithms. So I figured why not just do that. So one thing I'll need to mention is that if you guys haven't seen my video about the method of compiling C# code without Visual Studio under Windows, and if you are running Windows, you should consider that. Look at that video, do all the steps as I mentioned, because they will be brought up here again. What else? So we'll need to open up our trusty command line. I'm running it as an administrator because I want to. I'm going to find where it's located again. So we go over here, find the, I believe it was the, whoops, it's not in here, or it is, but I just cannot see it. There it is, Microsoft.NET, Framework 64, latest one, and yep, here it is, csc.exe. So we're going to copy that. We're going to do cd, paste that in, and we are in our directory. If we type in there, it should give us all the things. But the one thing we are mainly looking for is, I guess, a different one. It's not going to show up, but we are in the directory that we need to be in. So, so that's our basic environment setup. Again, just follow the video's instructions as I mentioned here, and you should be ready to go. For those who may want to point that out to me, you can follow this even under Linux. Just download the Mono C# compiler, which is really easy to do. All you have to do is type in sudo apt install mono-mcs, and it will ask you to install, and you'll be able to install the C# compiler. And to compile it, all you do is type in mcs and the name of the source file. Kinda if you were doing the crc.exe and then the source file, as I've mentioned in that video, in this one in particular, kind of the same way and the same methodology. It's just with a different type of compiler, but we're not going to cover that. I will link to a repository where you can get this Example.cs file, which I have right here. Oh, ignore these two, they are not, I'm gonna close them actually. So you'll be greeted with this, the Example.cs file, which we'll be using to code up our things that we want to do. The Example.cs file will be hosted on my GitHub page. As of now, I don't have it created, but once the video goes live, I will create it. And you guys should be able to follow along. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. So let's get going. So once you have everything set up for your environment, one way I recommend setting it up is by having these windows side by side, if you can, because it's much easier to follow along, and also helps you, prevents you from doing weird stuff like I do. So one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prepare the crc.exe and then point it to my D drive, and we're going to add a backslash. We should be able to see the sample code, then do another backslash again. Okay, there we go. So yeah, you see we are cycling through our C# code files, which is okay. I'm going to tell you how to work with this later. Let me just resize this a little so you guys can actually follow along with what's going on. So as you can see, it's listing me all the files that are located in this directory, the .cs files. Okay, so since we have all of that ready, let's get to writing some code. So before we begin, I wanna mention a few things. I'm going to have another Windows Explorer window open over here, just so you guys can see where it's being saved. So let me just move this down here, and the place where it's going to be saved is on your C drive, Windows. It should be under Microsoft.NET framework and the latest version. Basically, where we have our command prompt open, that's where it's gonna save it. So I thought I might just let you know, and you'll be searching. If you download the Example.cs file, I will tell you which file to look for if you're following along. So with all of that out of the way, we should get going. So the first thing we're going to write is a really simple Hello World program. It's one of the, I'm gonna show you two methods. One method that's simpler, and the second one which can help you easily edit it without having to worry about anything. So the first one, the one that's used by most people, is we're going to, actually before we do that, the Example.cs file serves as a base. So you can click File, click Save As, and we're gonna name this HelloWorld.cs because it's the very first one and it's a really easy one to do. So we're going to save it as HelloWorld.cs. As you can see, it created for us a file called HelloWorld.cs. And now what we're going to do is we're going to type in console.write line and then do console.read k. I'm going to explain what each one of those lines does. Save it, open your terminal, and compile the code. Whoops. One technical difficulty. Okay, one thing, it's not CRC but CSC. I just made it worse. And once you run it, it should compile. As you can see, no error messages this time around. So if you go over here and search for the one that we created, which is the HelloWorld.exe, which you can see it's right here. So we're going to drag it into our sample code directory, and we can run it separately. Again, Avast is bugging me, just don't mind that. Okay, as you can see, it's not writing anything because we haven't set anything to do. So here we're going to type in hello world, and we're going to compile it once again. Oh yeah. And as you can see, it's right here, the newly compiled version. Again, you can just run this again if you need to, but that's about it. So we can just drag it over, replace it, and okay, something's up, something's not right. Something tells me that Avast is bugging me. I wouldn't recommend this, what I just did, but you know. What the heck? Okay, let's just remove it. And let's compile it once again, and boom. We should have our app ready. So we're just going to copy it over, replace it, and okay, it's not gonna work at all. So we're gonna leave it in there for now, and what we can do is we can run it from here, just by typing in HelloWorld.cs. As you can see, it's running just fine. So that's another method you can run our code if you really need to. Since it's in our directory, we can just type in the name of the app and it'll complete it. As you can see, it's writing it out. So that's our first app. So that's the first method. The second method is actually a really easy one. For that, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to remove this. And here we're going to add in the top, and we're going to add a string variable. And we're going to name it text. Give the equal sign, put in what we just copied. And here we're going to type in text. And save the file. So what we just did is we created a variable. Variable is a thing, let's call it like a container, which can contain pretty much any form of data. And we can specify the type of data over here. So if we put in string, it says like, hey, I need some sort of text. So it's going to take it as a text. You give it the name, which we gave it text, and added the value in string form. The string form is defined with those double quotes at the beginning and the end. And here, whatever is in those double quotes is what's going to be written on the screen of the command line. And here what we are doing is the console.writeLine and then the txt thing itself, which is going to write it out, and then it's going to wait for a form of key to be pressed. So let's just compile this, and we go back over here. You should see another version. So if we decide to run it, as you can see, it does the exact same thing despite it being changed. So these are two methods you can write your very first program. Now, you can even write out multiple strings if you want to. Again, we're going to define it as a string, and let's call it text1. Then give it the equal sign, double quotes, and let's say we want to write it out with using actually 3 strings. So here's how you do it. I'm going to go over each and every one of those one by one, so don't worry. We're going to add another string. We're going to name it text2, and we're going to give it the exclamation point, and we're going to remove it from here because it's not needed. So now we've separated it into 3 strings. I'm going to show what happens if we compile it as it is right now. So if we compile it as it is right now, it will warn us that the variable text1 and text2 isn't utilized. Don't worry. So if you decide to run it now, all it will type out is hello, so where's the rest? We didn't initialize it. So if you have a look, if I highlight just the word text, you can see here text is being used. So this is what we've been using, but we want to print out the rest. So how do we do that? Simply add a plus sign and type in text, if you can type, and text1. If you save it as it is now and recompile it, okay, so if it shows you this error, just remove the HelloWorld.exe. It's fine, just remove it and compile it again. Should be fine. So if you have a look, we have our new HelloWorld.exe. So if we execute, you can see we've got now 2 words, but where's the exclamation point? To print out the exclamation point, just add another plus sign and type in text 2. I'm using Notepad++ for this, so that's why it's giving me those suggestions on what to write. You can use any text editor you want, I'm just showing you the basics. And now what we do is we compile it again. As you can see, it says it doesn't have access to it despite it having it, so just remove the file again and compile it once more. You should be fine. So what will happen now if we decide to print it? Well, if we decide to run it, you can see we got the exact same thing we had at the beginning, just by using multiple strings. So what you need to remember from everything we've talked about so far is strings are used to write out text. So you can put any text you want in here and it will print it out. And you can define it multiple times. Just make sure to add it to the output, which is over here. And it will print out the text just like you want it to. One really neat thing about C# is you can add comments. So, for example, declaration of string variables. Declaration of string variables. Printing the output to the screen and wait till key pressed till exit. So basically what we did is by adding these double forward slashes is like, hey, this is a comment. So what it does is you can add pretty much any text you want in here and the compiler is gonna ignore it. So to prove to you that it actually does work, we're going to recompile our code again. And as you can see, it's been added right here. So let's run it. As you can see, it does the exact same thing. It's just commenting on what we've done over here. And here we are declaring the string variables, which are used for printing out text. Here we're printing out the text we've written in these variables, and here we are just waiting for the input. And that's pretty much it. That's our very first program written in 2 methods. Now, one thing I want you to remember is that I won't be doing multiple methods if not necessary. One also important thing, change the namespace to Hello World according to the name of the file, so you can have a bit more of a better look at what code you've written. It's not necessary, as you can see it works anyway, but it's better to have a bit more of a structure and a bit of a know-how of what files you have saved. Again, just to prove to you that by changing that it still works, we can remove the HelloWorld.cs we've compiled before. As you can see, it's not in there anymore. We're going to recompile it. Whoops. And we're going to run it. As you can see, it still runs. So, don't believe me, it's in here. It's this file right here. We can hopefully copy it now. Yes, we can. So I'm going to be saving all the code that I've written into here, and I'll also upload the source files, just the source files, to the GitHub repository I've mentioned in the beginning. I'll create a GitHub repository where you can find all the example codes that I'll be talking about. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's our very first program written in C# using nothing but the command line and a basic text editor. So you do not need to use Visual Studio. Yes, Visual Studio is a bit more extensible and it gives you suggestions, but as you can see, depending on your text editor, you can get the same functionality, if not even more. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions that you want to ask, just let me know. And next time, I think we'll be looking into some basic calculations. So we'll be talking about numbers next time, and then we will talk about loops, because those are one of the most used things. And then we will talk about if statements, because if statements are really powerful. And then we will combine everything to create a simple calculator. And yeah, then we will learn about classes. They're basically their children, which basically take types of, it's, look, there's a lot of stuff we have to cover. Just remember this. For now, remember that strings are really cool. You'll be using those a lot. And for next time, just remember we'll be learning about numbers. So that's all you have to remember. We do not want to get ahead of ourselves. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time.